Melanie, why did you call? I came as fast as I could.
Sean, I have something to tell you.
I'm scared. What is it?
It's time for the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion recap.
Hot damn!
You're listening to Reality Wrap. I'm your host, Melanie. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Reality Wrap. I have Sideshow Sean here with me tonight.
How are y'all doing, team?
So the day has arrived. We are in part one of the reunion, which I'm excited and sad at the same time because it means that the show is coming to an end.
I was going to say the exact same thing. Happy and sad. Thought it was a good show, but there's only 2 left.
I know.
And
there's
then the
only
magic
2
ends
episodes
until,
left.
I guess, Jersey?
Yeah, Jersey
Come
comes out in the
on,
spring.
Jersey.
Oh, we have Vanderpump Rules. You're not doing that one, though. I'm doing that one. Yeah, so sad times. Happy times and sad times.
Yeah.
Hey, so did you listen to that podcast that I sent you the other day?
Hopeless, Not Truthless? Yeah, absolutely. I grabbed a few episodes the other day. They're really good.
Yeah, so I listen to a ton of podcasts, as Sean knows, because I'm always walking around with headphones on while I'm working, while I'm running, while I'm cleaning, like all the time. And so I'm always looking for new podcasts, and I came across this podcast, Hopeless Not Truthless, with Sarah and Narelle, who are long-term friends up in Canada, and they also share a love of Bravo shows like all of us. So I've been listening to them, and I find that our views on all the different situations that we see tend to be the same, and I actually find myself agreeing with them out loud. As I'm listening, I'll be like, yeah, talking along with them, like I'm in the room with them. Obviously, I'm not. But
great minds think alike, ladies, for sure. I definitely like them. They're a lot of fun.
So if you guys are like me and you are always in the market for finding a new podcast and are looking for another Bravo podcast to listen to, I definitely recommend going over and listening to Sarah and Narelle at Hopeless Not Truthless. I also love the name of their podcast, the little play on that charity back on Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
What was it called? Homeless Not Toothless.
Yeah. Yeah. That was good.
I like that. That's an excellent play on your podcast name. Anyways, make sure you go check them out. They're on all of the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify. I listen to them on Apple. And you can also find them. They're very active on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you head over there and also follow them on that.
And they're downloaded on my phone.
Which says a lot because Sean does not listen to a lot of podcasts. So the fact that he's listening to them says a lot.
Yeah.
All right, let's start talking about Salt Lake City. So Monica posted on her Instagram today something kind of interesting. I guess, well, I'm just going to read it to you guys. So she posted today, I have received several questions about my divorce. Yes, the affair happened over a decade ago. No, that is not the reason for our divorce. I understand you all have questions and are trying to figure out the reason for the divorce now. I have debated answering this publicly or not. However, when I did apply to be on the show, I had planned on bringing awareness to this subject and was speaking about it openly. Another subject which was discussed several times along with others that wasn't shown in the email that was shown on last night's episode. The reason for our divorce was because of domestic violence. My ex was arrested a couple of times for domestic violence on me in front of our girls and violations of protective orders. I had hoped to speak about it on the show to help better explain why things are the way they are in my life currently, to bring awareness to women dealing with this issue and to help them see that they are not alone. I hope anyone going through this issue knows that I am with you. I hope you see that you can move on from this horrible situation and begin to give your children a better way of life away from those circumstances, that there is a life after abuse, that it wasn't your fault, and that you have tribes of people ready to carry you through. So that is pretty terrible that she was a victim of domestic abuse.
Everything she said about domestic abuse was absolutely true. And we should 100% support her and the girls in getting away from anything that's like that.
Right.
At all. Period. End of story. This isn't TV anymore. Those kids need to be safe. Let's just be serious for a minute.
Yeah.
End of story. And Monica needs to be safe. Like safe.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's all I really have to say on that.
Yeah.
So if that's what happened, and the stress that puts on a family is immeasurable unless you've been through it.
Yeah. Plus then she's got LD millionaire that she's got to deal with growing up her whole life. So she came from a dysfunctional childhood to which sounds like a dysfunctional marriage
that put her back into the arms of her dysfunctional mother.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's crazy. We also had, after we finished recording last week's episode, we had the recording of her and her mom screaming at each other come out after the Easter lunch. That was crazy.
I felt bad for those girls.
I did too.
Really
the little kids were in the room.
And you saw that one moment, all three women. The grandma who had abused the mom, who had abused Monica.
Yeah.
And you saw the one oldest daughter
walk through. I know. Oh my gosh.
The pattern, that visual really, that stuck with me, man.
Yeah. Then we also have Tanisha.
Pattern,
although Tanisha denies that she leaked these voice clips, but there's those clips of Monica saying like Kim Kardashian was an assistant. I want to get on the show, or whatever it was that she was saying.
I didn't think that was very strong proof.
Well, no, I mean clearly she wanted to get on the show, right?
No one on the show doesn't not want to be on the show.
Yeah, you're right. Like everybody who applies for the show,
you applied to be there. Right?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Implies that you wanted to be there. Exactly. It's a stupid argument anyway. She wanted to be here. So what?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I know we're going to talk a little about it later, but I didn't think that was
yeah. All right, so let's jump into the recap. So we see the women coming into the reunion. All of the women look flawless. The makeup, the hair, everything. Everybody looked flawless. I think Angie K probably looked the best. I thought I liked her dress. I liked her hair, everything. I did like Monica's dress a lot. I did not like the color of her dress, though. I wish it would have been in a different color. I'm just not an aqua
I hate to say this because it's going to sound like, I'm being safe, but all of the ladies look great.
They did. That's what I said. They all looked
really,
great.
really good. I think we both agreed, though, like Lisa, her face was like, boom. She was popping on her face. I was like, wow. And then
I think she had a little bit of work done. I think actually Heather had some work done as well.
I did not say that. So
well, of course, I would have work done too if I was on a show.
Just assume she had a good night's sleep.
Yeah, whatever.
I thought Heather had her best hair. I thought her hair.
I thought her face looked really good too. All of them looked really good, like I said.
Yeah, but Heather's hair was just like, wow. It was like really, really nice. And then I thought Monica had the best dress. The color was the color. I think they all chose their colors because of the background and the setting anyway.
Yeah, but none of the colors, they weren't coordinated. On so many other housewives
shows. These women weren't coordinated.
No, so you're right. It's chaos. It was just chaos.
And so was the set. Remember, he said that. It
was. It was like Bermuda. It was Salt Lake City.
There was snow everywhere.
Yeah.
It was...
It was crazy.
But I thought the dresses were good.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into Andy asks the women how the show felt filming without Jen Shah this season. Were you worried as a group? Most of them say no. And then Heather says she was worried that the audience would want to watch the level of drama and toxicity that Jen brought. If they didn't get that, they might tune it out. And I was like, I don't know. I didn't like watching Jen Shah, to be honest with you. Especially last season. But Jen Shah was always such a negative force.
Yeah, I didn't watch it because of Jen Shah. The last season. Her last season was why I didn't watch it. I just couldn't take anymore. But I also thought Heather was the only honest one on the couch because like I asked you today and I'll ask it again, do you really think more people would watch a show with just the four ladies? I love them, but I think they're an amazing cast for crazy. The amazing supporting cast for someone who is crazy. And when you got rid of Jen, and then you brought in Monica, I think Monica is way less crazy than Jen.
Monica was like 1,000,000 times better than Jen.
100 times better.
Yeah.
Way more amenable.
She didn't scream and fly off the handle.
She's not throwing fisticuffs anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no black eyes. You know what I'm saying? The way that, even though they rallied around her against her, it was great. So, I mean, that's what the show does really well with is these four women are amazing. Let's drop a bomb in them, and so we can just watch the spectacular happen. And that's what we saw.
Hypothetically, if they bring back Monica next season, who do you think she's going to film with? Obviously, Mary because I was listening to Sarah Norell's podcast last week, and I guess after last week's episode, Monica had a live and Norell watched it, and she said that Mary was also in the live watching and was like, I guess texting or not texting or whatever, sending messages during the live. And I guess they talk like every day and they text every day, and I guess Mary is always sending Monica angel numbers. I'm not quite sure. I think
What's an angel number?
I think it's like when you see something like 111, like multiple numbers of the same numbers in a row.
Okay.
And so I guess she'll take a photo, like you happen to look at the clock and it says 3:33. So I guess Mary takes photos of those and sends them to her. Oh. So it sounds like as of up until last week, they were still very much friends. So they could absolutely bring her on. Who do you think out of the current cast, like Whitney, Lisa, Meredith, Angie K, and Heather, would be willing?
I think Whitney for sure.
Whitney probably.
And Whitney's always looking for a good story.
A good healing story.
Yeah, so I think that's a lock. Meredith. I think Meredith probably would.
I feel like Angie K even would too, because look how quickly when she was pissed off at Monica for not spreading the rumor, but bringing up the rumor about Sean on TV. How quickly she forgave her and like... I agree. I think Heather probably would be the only one.
There you go. That was going to say the only one, and that's so interesting.
Well, Lisa Barlow. I mean, Monica said a lot of mean
we haven't
stuff
gotten
to
Lisa yet. Lisa, but Heather would be the one that's kind of in a gray area. Like, you don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, because she's got the lawsuit.
Maybe she won't. The lawsuit's for
think of all the nasty things that Mary had texted to Lisa, and Lisa was still nice to her. Remember when she was reading all the texts that Mary had sent her, and she, like, you're a witch.
Well, they've always treated, as mean as Mary has been to them, and relatively nice as Monica has been to them.
Yeah.
They, even up until they knew about Von Teese, they were nicer to Mary, for sure. They definitely gave Monica a tougher, indoctrination into the group.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely are. Again, they're oddly loyal to Mary. Even
Mary's like, I hate you.
Yeah, and they're like,
Mary. Great, Mary. How you doing?
So silly.
She's sweet girl. You're so funny. She's like, I hope you die in a fire.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't mean that.
Oh, she's funny. You got to work on that, Mary.
Yeah. Anyway, so then Andy asks how they feel now about Jen being guilty. Do they feel betrayed? And Heather tells him, up until she walked into the courtroom, she was maintaining her innocence. And Lisa adds, yeah, even after she pled guilty, she said she didn't do it. And how are we supposed to believe our friend who was saying she was innocent when everything was pointing to her being guilty?
Yeah, and I think you're looking at a combination of obviously loyalty, but another very real human condition, which is we don't want to be proven wrong. Yeah,
like you don't want to be like, I was bamboozled by this person or whatever.
Or anyone.
Yeah. Andy now asks them, well, do you believe now that she's innocent? And they all say no, except for Whitney. She's like, I always took the stance that I had my speculations, but I was scared of retaliation.
I had a strong feeling that she was guilty.
Yeah. All the alarm bells, obviously.
Yeah, and I feel like I did express that.
Yeah.
And I think at times it was hard because there would be retaliation if we said or did anything.
And you could bring up facts till you're blue in the face, and she just would maintain the same thing. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
What would the retaliation be?
Oh, just social media hatred.
Just attacks, like vicious attacks. Vicious attacks that ruin your character, your name, your business, things.
So this clip kind of bothered me because I was kind of like, if you guys were all like kind of feeling like, Jen was actually guilty and they kind of suspected that she was guilty. I mean, she had a federal case against her. Usually people who have federal cases, the government just doesn't bring a federal case to people who are innocent. They chose to defend her because they were worried about her retaliation on social media. And I'm like, how does that look now that you chose not to say anything because you were worried about social media?
So that gives me a question, I guess, for you. Help me out with this. On the episode before, Heather was talking about ride or die and going with Jen, and that she believed it. But then in the reunion, she's talking kind of like when Whitney kind of like opened up and said, I kind of knew it. I just didn't want to deal with the backlash. The other kind of ladies were nodding, but Heather was too. And so it kind of confused me because I'm like, well, wait a minute. When did you know that she was guilty? I remember you telling me Whitney, was one of the first ones that was like, there's something wrong here. I also remember Heather telling us last episode that she was the last. So when did she figure that out? When do you think? It just didn't add up anymore. I was like, wait a minute, Heather, what's going on here?
I don't know, because I think at one point Heather says, like, every time we would ask her or question her about an allegation, she would say, I didn't do it, I'm innocent.
Right.
So I guess she chose to believe her. I don't know.
It's just weird that I think she would have that speech of I was ride or die, I believed her till the end.
She was.
But then at the reunion, she was talking like
that's the
she
whole
knew all
hypocrisy
along.
of her this whole season. Was
I don't understand.
She was ride or die all last season. Then she comes into this season acting like she's a victim of Jen Shaw's.
Right.
And that was when I had a problem with her at the beginning of the season. I'm like, I didn't forget last season you were like ride or die for Jen Shaw, who clearly had ripped off elderly people and didn't care. She knew what she was doing. And then she came in and she was like, I was a victim of Jen Shaw. Then kind of built herself back up in the middle of the season. And I was like, okay, she's growing on me again. And then at the end, once again, acts like somehow she's a victim because she was ride or die for Jen Shaw, even after she got punched in the eye. So yeah, exactly. Good question, Sean. I wish I could explain it, but I can't.
It doesn't make sense. That's all I'm saying.
It doesn't.
Maybe our friends in the North can help us with that.
Yeah, maybe. Sarah and Norel, give us your take on that.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that? We'd love to know.
Anyway, so we now get into Monica's packet. Andy tells her that he thought it was touching and honest when she cried to her mom about buying a bag and, all of a sudden having to care about labels. She's like, coming into this group, it was very intimidating because all of these women had really great lives. And, what did I have? I was divorced. I cheated on my husband. And that everybody
quite a list.
Everyone at one point in their lives have felt, intimidated around other people. And Andy's like, well, why were you so triggered by Lisa being upset about losing her ring then? She's like, because she kept pointing out that it was a $60,000 ring. Lisa then tells us the story behind the ring, that John gave her that ring because after Henry was born, they almost lost him. And so he gave her, I guess, this ring after that happened. And to her, it is a reminder to her that she still has her 2 boys. And so it was sentimental. She then says that she wasn't trying to be unrelatable or show that she was part of the 1%. And then Monica interjects and she's like, yeah, I was wrong about that. You're definitely not part of the 1%. She's like, I feel like you're bagging on me right now. She's like, well, I mean, you're not part of it. And then they listed off a bunch of people who are rich.
I feel like you're bagging on me right now.
Yeah, or whatever she said.
I
feel like you're dissing me right now.
But the way I look at it is, she's right, Lisa. You're not the 1%. You're in the 3%.
I questioned it too. Remember that
like,
podcast episode? I was like, I don't know, 1%.
The 1%.
Maybe. I guess if
that's like,
Vita Tequila's doing really well, but
yeah, no.
Anyways, Andy,
she's in the 3% though.
Yeah, probably 3 to 5%.
Oh yeah.
Andy then asks Monica, who do you think started the rumor that you took the ring and pawned it or stole the ring or whatever to Monica? And she's like, I think Lisa and Heather started it. And they both deny starting the rumor. And Monica's like, then why didn't you defend me when the rumor came out? And Lisa's like, that's not my job. And then Heather says something, and we couldn't hear it because they were kind of talking over each other. So I think she said, well, I believed it. But it was hard to hear, like I said. And Monica's like, see, right there. And so I guess that's why she didn't defend. And she's like, it's really typical that you would say something like that. Obviously, because I have less than you would assume that I would steal your ring.
Do you think she stole the ring?
No.
No, me neither.
She didn't go in there until 20 or 30 minutes later.
Do you think Lisa is implying she stole the ring?
No, but she didn't defend her either. And Lisa's like, it's not my job.
There you go.
Heather seemed to, I think, believe the rumor. She didn't start the rumor, but sounds like she might have believed it. Then Angie tries to interject, and Monica's like, why are you talking, you bench warming bitch? This doesn't involve you, like most of the season.
I'm going to say that their friendship's probably taken a hit at this point.
You think?
Yeah.
Monica then clarifies that she never took Lisa's ring and that she didn't go into the bathroom until 20 minutes after she lost it. So there's really no way that she could have. I guess it was just a rumor on the internet. Imagine that, a rumor off the internet. Andy then starts asking Monica about her relationship with Jen. And she's like, we started as friends, then I started working for her, and then we were enemies. And Andy says, what exactly did you do for Jen? And she's like, Jen needed help with her life, so she needed someone to go get groceries. I went got her groceries. And he's like, was she filming yet for the show? And she's like, yeah, I think they had filmed season 1. And then Andy asks, did you get paid for it? And she says, no. And Andy's like, so you were taking time away from your kids for a job that didn't pay? And she's like, yes. At the time, I had a husband who was already at home. The kids were with him, and I was her friend, and she needed help. So Heather then brings up a voice clip that we've all heard that has gone around the internet of Monica talking about how Kim Kardashian used to be an assistant and look where she is now. I can fully admit that being an assistant was a stepping stone for me, which whether or not she knew Jen was on the show and she thought like she could, I feel like there are a lot of housewives that kind of go this way, like, you know, they're friendly with somebody or become friendly with somebody to get on these shows. This isn't the only franchise that's happened on.
No one on the show doesn't not to want to be on the show.
You gonna read that note again?
That would be the last time, but I thought it was a good time to make that point again.
Yeah, like Jackie from New Jersey, there's photos of her standing in line at Teresa's book signings, and Jennifer Aiden was a fan of the show, and she got on the show.
The whole thing's a facade.
Heather then tells Monica that she thinks that Monica had an agenda to get on the show. And she's like, you know, I had no idea that Jen was even on the show. I applied to the show, just like everybody else. And then so Heather's like, well, what did you say when you wrote to the show or applied to the show? And she's like, I told them, I'm Monica Fowler and your ratings suck and your show is going to get canceled. And then we see an actual copy of what Monica actually wrote, and that is not at all what she said. She said something like, I'm a spicy, excommunicated Latina, or something like that. I feel like she said that kind of just to bash everybody on the show in general. I don't think she was like, yeah, that's what I said. I think she was kind of just trying to stick it to everybody. I told them that because the ratings sucked until I came on the show, I think is kind of the point she was trying to prove.
Right, which I think was not necessary. She should have just said, I applied like everyone else.
Yeah. And
just left it at that. Yeah. I don't think that really hit the mark for her very well.
No, it didn't. But I kind of saw what she was trying to do.
Yeah, I do too.
I was basically telling them that the show sucked. And now look at it now that I'm on it. That is kind of how
she's a rookie, right? So we're going to give her a pass on that. But she has to know everything they say, write, do, that they send that way. They can show you and say, no, you didn't.
Andy then asks her how she became an informant on Jen's case. And she's like, I reached out to the FBI and told them I have information about the case. And that's when we find out that she also had the affair with her brother-in-law like over 10 years ago. Was in that Monica packet.
Didn't you sense the moment, though, that as Monica was talking about being called a whore and everything, the girls kind of just listened for a minute and so like, now you're good. Almost like a quiet acceptance that, now you have now gone through what we have gone through. I sense they acknowledged that. Did you not?
I mean, I didn't pick up on it, but...
You know what I mean? More like, and now you've been through what we've been through.
Yeah, I think I remember that. That was when Whitney said, I had an affair also, and I had to deal with being called a whore online or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Is that when you were talking about? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there were a couple of moments where I felt like a couple of them were relating to what Monica was talking about, which also, just with that, gives me hope that there's somebody on the cast that will film with her next season. I think it's probably going to be Whitney.
Yeah. I think so, too. I think a couple of the girls will.
Yeah. So we now get a packet of all the discourse that happens between all the women. Andy asks Lisa and Meredith where their friendship stands, and they say they're in a much better place. Lisa says it's like we're building a new friendship. I thought that was pretty interesting considering that Lisa was convinced that Meredith was the one who sent those DMs. And she had everybody rallying behind her. Whitney was going along with it. Yeah. So I'm like, I can't believe that didn't affect their friendship, their building friendship. I mean, maybe it's going to be addressed further into the reunion. But
maybe, yeah.
It was interesting that, they were building this friendship and then Lisa immediately was like, it was you, Meredith, admit it. you know?
Yeah.
Andy then asks Heather and Whitney how they are, and they're like, we're still working on things. And Whitney says there are still a lot of trust issues. I was like, Andy then starts talking about Whitney saying that Meredith brings up things that she's going through that they happen to not know about, and then suddenly she'll be like, you don't know what I'm going through, and she's doing this as a deflection.
And her deflecting is amazing. It's kind of like watching Wonder Woman, but in a pantsuit.
In a blazer.
Yeah. Wonder Woman! Yeah, it's crazy.
Meredith replies, I brought up my friend going through something was because I had just found out that morning about it, and I was trying to push it out of my mind, and Whitney just kept pushing her and pushing her and pushing her to the point where she couldn't handle it, and so she was just like, you don't know what I'm going through. Lisa chimes in and says, I see both sides. I think Meredith should just explain to us, listen, I'm not in the right state of mind to discuss whatever it is that they're trying to talk about, and God knows Whitney is always trying to talk about something. And Meredith's like, I've never had a problem disengaging. As you've all seen it, I've done it a bunch of times. And then we see like all these times where she's like, I'm disengaging. And she gets up.
Well.
And for them to say that she's deflecting and using things that are happening to her as a way of deflecting isn't very nice. And Lisa's like, well, everybody processes things differently. And then she brings up how when Whitney's friend died and she saw Whitney and she immediately hugged her at Meredith's party. I think it was Meredith's party, right? They were at a party.
Yeah.
Whitney told her, I don't want to talk about it. And how in Bermuda, Whitney actually said, I was asking too much if you were okay. And it was triggering her. So now I'm a little confused because at that party, she got mad at Lisa, right, for not consoling her.
But she did console her.
Right. But that was why she got mad at Lisa, right? Because she was saying basically, Lisa didn't console her, and then Lisa just said, I did. She's like, yeah, but I saw you walking around and talking to other people first. So she right there just admitted basically that whole fight that I created was not true.
She's inflating. She's inflating something, and didn't she? Isn't this a pattern now? Because didn't she inflate the segment in Heather's book that she'd already approved?
Yes, she approved it.
She inflated that to a screaming, ranting storyline.
Yes. And then now when she gets called out on it, it's like, oh, yeah, well.
I don't know. I don't want to go there.
I'm like, yeah, that's kind of screwed up. Like, she created this whole scene and was screaming at Lisa about how she's like, why do you make everything about you? Da-da-da-da-da. Well, Lisa was trying to comfort her and hug her and ask her if she was okay. Like, I felt like totally misled.
Yeah, I didn't. That whole thing, first off, if your friend just died, and I'm not, refuting that, why would you go to an event 24 hours later? I would be in a dark room just trying to get through it. I guess everyone grieves differently. But then so you go to something like that and you can kind of understand, why she would behave a little erratically. She has a lot of emotions running through her. And you can understand why Lisa would also be like, look, I'm going to back off a little bit. You're clearly in an emotional state. So she paid her respects and she tried to move on. I don't know. I think really wasn't good for Whitney.
Yeah, didn't look good. It left me confused. I'm like, wait. That fight was about consoling her, but she actually did console her. So anyways, Andy then asks Angie why she was so quick to forgive Monica and not Meredith when she was the one who started the Sean is gay rumor. Not started it, but was bringing it up on TV. And she's like, well, when I met with Monica, she was being vulnerable. She was upset about her mom. So I quickly forgave her and I just put it back on Meredith. And I gave Monica the benefit of the doubt. Monica laughs and says, you act like I made up this rumor when all I did was repeat it. Then they talk about Lisa calling Angie weak and a liar. Angie's like, it hurt my feelings because I'm not weak or a liar. You've seen me stand up against a lot of people. Little Angie in the Greek mafia. Standing up for herself.
Yeah, she's fun.
Lisa tells her that she felt stupid arguing with Monica when she didn't know that Monica and Angie had actually already made up. And she's like, I was sticking up for you. I was, defending you and staying on your side. And then you said that you were in the middle of it. And she's like, you weren't in the middle of it. I was on your side. It wasn't like you had to be in between me and Monica. I was on your side. She's like, I feel like you were playing both sides. It's funny, I didn't really notice that until Lisa pointed it out to us. When she put it all together in that description right there, I was like, oh my God, she was right. When she was like, Angie was like, I feel like I'm in the middle of it. It was a fight between Monica and Angie, and Lisa was just defending Angie. Now that she said it that way, I'm like, oh, I see what she's saying.
Right. Yeah.
It was pretty interesting.
Well, why wouldn't she tell Lisa?
They said she lied by omission, basically, by not telling
dishonest.
Lisa.
I would say lying is different than dishonest. A little. I mean, we're in shades of gray.
Yeah, exactly. She was lying by omission. Andy then brings up all the husbands, and he asks Whitney why Justin stopped wearing his wedding ring. And we find out that he stopped wearing his wedding ring because he put weight on. And just like I said at the beginning of the season, Whitney made this whole rocky marriage shit up for a story. And that totally explains why Justin always looked confused when he was in a scene, when she'd be like, did you call the therapist yet? Huh?
Right, there was no therapist.
There was no therapist.
It was never happening.
What?
So you had poor
I
Justin.
just came in to make a sandwich.
Yeah, he's making his sandwich. He's sitting down. All of a sudden, the producer goes, roll him. And she just starts arbitrarily asking questions.
He's like, oh, wait, is that what we're supposed to go
What's
with
going
today?
on? Yeah, he did.
When I see your ring in the nightstand drawer. And he's like, yeah, because I put on 20 pounds, man. Thanks for bringing it up on camera.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do. Andy then asks Monica how she feels now that her divorce is finalized. And she's like, fine, but she really doesn't seem too enthusiastic about it. Andy asks her about her baby blanket business because in the divorce papers, it lists her business as having no income. And she's like, during COVID, I pretty much shut down. Everybody was shut down. Everybody's kind of confused by this because they're like, well, wait a minute. I just helped you with a photo shoot. And Heather's like, yeah, I actually bought blankets for some of my friends. They didn't get them yet, but I did buy them. And she's like, yeah, for 2020 and 2021 on our taxes, there was no income. So that was reported in the divorce filings. I also think there was probably no income because you get a better settlement if you have no income as a spouse.
I wouldn't know.
I mean, I wouldn't know either, but...
Well, thank God.
I'm just saying, if the tax reports say there's nothing, I don't know. That whole thing was a little fishy. So then she does say that she started her business back up. Meredith's like, are people getting their blankets now that they ordered? Because a lot of people are complaining online that they've ordered and they never received them. And she's like, yeah, I've had to do a lot of refunds because I was not expecting so many orders to come in once the show started. I was like, Because we did see a scene at the beginning of the season of her and her mom and her daughter folding the blankets.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the business had to have started back up. Andy then asks Angie how her and Sean are doing. She says, great. That everybody in Salt Lake City knew that he was married and that no one has ever said he was gay or cheating on her in 30 years until Monica the Rat came out of the sewer.
Yeah, but that doesn't really make sense.
Didn't she say, as a hairdresser, that they had been fighting these rumors over the years? I feel like she said that during the season.
But also, if we go back to the timeline of the season, Meredith's rumors, they sure seem to be about Angie and her husband, even though it wasn't about the marriage.
Right, I know. Andy then asks Meredith what her motivation was for bringing up the rumors and the nastiness about Angie's marriage. This is where Meredith tries to twist that she never implied anything specifically about their marriage. I was like, come on. We all knew what you were implying. I mean,
and I just watched the ladies as they did that. They basically gave Meredith an absolute pass. They're never going to give Monica. And I thought that was kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Andy asks her if she was dangling these rumors in front of Whitney and Lisa in hopes that somebody else would bring them up. She says no. It's like, okay, well, then why are you saying that?
And by the way, who cares if Angie's fake husband is gay?
I mean,
I don't care.
no, nobody cares.
No.
I mean, I guess Angie would care. Or maybe
No.
she doesn't care. I don't know.
No.
Anyway, Angie chimes in and says that based on what Monica told her, Meredith was threatening rumors about Sean's sexuality and that it's not right to do something like that with people who have children and families. I mean, really, it's not right to do it about anybody, regardless
No.
of whether they have people or families. But
No.
okay, I'll give her that.
Yeah.
Meredith then reads all the shit that Angie had said about her during the season, which really, when it was all put together, it was actually a very long list. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
Angie's like, well, clearly I activated you. You're welcome. And Meredith's like, pretty much like, I didn't need you to activate me. I did just fine way before you were ever on this show. Was Angie implying like I gave you something? I was like, give me a break, Angie.
Yeah. I remember 47 minutes even on to 47 minutes and 17 seconds. It is extremely difficult to understand what the ladies are actually saying. They are literally in layers. There's 5 of them going at once. It was amazing.
I
had
find
to watch
that
it
a
twice.
lot with-
I had to watch it twice.
Yeah,
I was
these
like,
reunions. I'm like,
oh.
wait, what? Wait, what?
I have no
Wait,
idea what they said. I watched
Yeah.
it twice. It was great.
Angie then tries to say that calling Meredith a trampoline with eyes was somehow a compliment because it means she has tight skin. I was like, what?
Well, it's not only untrue. Now you're insulting her intelligence, and so the insult continues.
I mean,
Their little tiff, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
yeah. Angie then apologizes to Meredith for saying that she opens her legs for other men in her marriage, but you brought up my marriage, and that's just how it works.
Yeah, give me Monica and Lisa anytime. Put those two in a corner of a ring. We'll watch that all day.
Yeah.
That's the fight I want to see.
Yeah. Andy then reads a comment from a viewer on how Whitney got Monica to bring up Sean's cheating rumor on camera. She says that's not true. She didn't even know what the rumor was until Palm Springs. But we did all see her encourage Monica at that bar before the trip, right?
We did.
She was pretty much like, oh, you've got to bring this rumor up or tell her or whatever it was.
Yeah, but as soon as Whitney says, I don't know, people
Yeah,
are
I
like,
know.
oh, okay. And they just
Yeah,
move
yeah.
on. They're like, of course she doesn't.
Of course you
know.
don't because...
You're Whitney.
Oh, Whitney. Monica then says that she doesn't blame Whitney for what comes out of her mouth. And Whitney thanks her. Oh, I think that was the other example of when I saw, like, when she was like, thank you for saying that. Like, Whitney softened a little bit.
She did.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, so maybe Whitney and Monica next season.
No, that was a good move for Monica taking ownership because now Whitney
she
knows.
took ownership on a lot. Granted, I mean, we've caught her in a lot of lies, but she does take ownership on a lot of shit. I mean, she essentially came out and was like, yeah, like I had this website out there. I ran it with other people. Like she didn't like deny. Well, first she did say, no, that's not true.
She was saying that's not true to the attacks on them.
Yeah, well, and that it wasn't just her.
And they were interrupting her. I mean, as soon as she said no, they like piled on her. And so she just kind of waited. I'm telling you, she's got something.
Man, I don't know.
And I want to see that book.
Yeah, well, that's coming up. Angie then says that Monica went to each and every one of the girls the first week of filming when they were supposed to be friends and implied that there was a rumor about Angie's marriage. Monica tries to talk and Angie tells her to shut up and that this is her moment. And Monica says, yeah, after 4 seasons. And Angie proceeds to bash Monica. She says something about parking her Range Rover under a carport and spending her children's money on a purse. And then we see Monica who was like, keep my children out of your mouth. And then that's how the episode ends.
There's no need to bring the kids into it. And yeah,
No.
I'll just say this to Andy. I'm speaking to you directly, sir. 3 words, man. Bring back Monica.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to go on a hunger strike. I just might. I could use one anyways.
Anyway, so that's how this part 1 of the reunion ends. Next week, it looks like we get some talk about Lisa Barlow's son's mission. And I forgot what the other stuff was. I mean, at some point, we're going to have a huge chunk about Monica.
6. There's not 3 people involved. Monica's going to claim that there's 6 people involved. Yep. She absolutely.
Okay, I missed that, but okay.
Nope.
Anyways, very good, you guys. And I will say, usually part 1 of reunions, I'm kind of like, there was a little bit of
It was good.
in there. Yeah, this was good. Definitely kept my interest. There was a little bit of stuff in there
I'm
where
just
I was like, I
hoping-
kind of don't care about this.
Yeah.
But for the most part, this was an excellent part 1. So if this was the worst of the 2 in terms of interesting
Monica's
wise,
coming back.
like, I mean, just part 2 and part 3 are really going to be good. Yeah. How could they get rid of Monica?
They can't at this point. They've kept such other way worse behavior. I'm sorry, ladies.
I know. We've had people who were in prison.
Yeah, and came back, and by the way.
Also, Heather, you need to get over the fact that she was, Von Teese, because you were fine with your friend's husband having a hate page on Lisa Barlow, who did nothing to anybody. At least Monica's page was about Jen Shaw, who's complete trash.
I just think Heather needs to get laid.
It might take her attention off of some of these other things.
Yeah, and that's a little too offensive for some out there. Intercourse. There you go.
That's a better word.
Yes.
All right, guys. Well, that is all we have for part 1 of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City reunion. Don't forget to go over and listen to Sarah and Narelle at Hopeless Not Truthless and give their podcast a subscribe, a listen, a like, a rating, all those good things. And we will be back tomorrow with our recap of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Talk to you guys then. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Good night.